Commission meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order. The time is now 4 p.m. City Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Commissioner Moody,
Here.
Commissioner Savala,
Here.
Vice Chair Burke,
Here.
and Chair Auclair.
Here.
And let the record reflect that Commissioner Bruning is currently absent.
Thank you. We're now going to move to public comment. We'll now hear public comments not pertaining to items on this agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. This process will be the same for comments pertaining to each item that follows. City Clerk, does anyone have a public comment?
There are no public comments.
Thank you. We're now going to move to the consent calendar. We will now consider items on the consent calendar, which will be enacted in one motion unless the commissioner has requested an item to remove an item for discussion. And give the commissioners an opportunity to review those for a second. The two items are the minutes and the Citizen Advisory Commission 2025 meeting schedule. Is there a motion to approve that consent calendar items?
Move to approve.
It was moved and seconded. Let me just pause for a moment and let the commissioners review those items. Does any commissioner wish to pull either of those items for discussion? Okay, so it was moved and seconded. So with that, City Clerk, do you mind taking the
So all in
the vote.
favor?
Aye.
aye?
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously with
Thank-
Commissioner Burke absent.
Thank you, and thank you to the staff and those minutes, and for the meeting schedule, keeping us on track. It takes work to do that, so thank you. We're now moving on to the business items for this meeting. Item 3, the Community Benefit Fund allocation process. Will staff please present the report?
Good afternoon, commissioners, members of the public, city staff. Agenda item number 3 is an informational report. It's intended to close the loop on an item that was considered by this commission earlier this calendar year. During its review of potential community benefit fund projects, the commission recommended amending the process by which the city receives and considers the award of community benefit fund monies. Pursuant to the commission's input, staff developed a new process which was unanimously supported by the commission on July 8th. The new process, along with the attached application requesting community benefit fund dollars, was approved by the City Council at their meeting on September 8th of this year. The process, which is outlined in the report, begins with an announcement and distribution of the application on February 1st. Applications will be received through March 15th, after which staff will review, assemble information, and present such information to the commission. That'll likely occur at the regular meeting of the commission in April. Subsequently, a summary of the CAC's recommendation will be presented to the City Council. After discussion at the Council, City Port Committee members appointed by the Council will discuss the recommendations at joint meetings of the Port and the Commission. And lastly, after a consensus has been reached with the Port, the Council will consider final action of approval or modification for community benefit fund projects. I did want to mention in the application form, although it is accurate in substance, there are a couple of formatting issues that I noticed, some indent issues. There was an apostrophe that fell off, and there was a word that was bolded, and some spacing issues. So I just wanted to note that I did catch those, and that will be revised. Nothing substantively, but grammatically that'll be amended before the final product is actually put out to the public. So with that, that concludes the staff report. Again, informational item, just to close the loop and let the commission know that an item that had been considered by and a recommendation that was made to the council by this body was acted on, and the process moving forward has been revised. So I wanted to provide that informational report and answer any questions that this body may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Assistant City Manager. Does the commission have questions for staff? These are only questions, only questions for staff. Comments about the item will be heard later. Any questions of staff? Okay, not at the moment, so we're going to turn to the city clerk to see if there's any public comments on this item.
No public comments.
Okay, we're going to return back to the commission. Commissioners, let's take a minute or so to review the staff product here, and then just double check to see if you have any questions. So we're going to take about a minute or two to review it, and then we'll return to the agenda. Thank you. Okay, commissioners, we'll be coming back together in just a few more seconds if you want to finish your review, and then we'll come back together on this receive and file item. Okay, commissioners, we're going to come back together on this item. Do we have any additional feedback or questions of staff on this report?
I just have one little question about, it says retain cannabis presence at the event, that's part there. I'm just not quite sure what this means to, it says businesses interested in participating to ensure the presence remained. So what does that,
Do you mind giving us a page number on that item?
I think he's talking about the event.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have not moved on to the event yet.
It's
Oh,
Move
I'm
on to that.
sorry.
Community benefit.
Yeah, we're still on the community benefit one. Not to worry. We're about to get there in a moment.
all right.
Commissioner Moody, do you have any feedback? Okay. Any feedback?
I do. I
Okay.
do, thank you. On the award amounts paragraph, it says award amounts are typically between $2,500 and $10,000. It is suggested that the applicants consider making funding requests within or below that range. So my question here is, or comment, however, if there is a large, substantial project with significant merit, right, that benefits the city and the port, I think it should be considered as well. And it could be a multi-year project that might be beneficial to the port and to the city and to the residents. And the one thing that pops into my head right now, because it's been bubbling up in conversations, is an in-depth study, for example, with a third party on emissions and how the impact from our port and our community, and how do we find a mitigation program to help ensure that emissions are reduced, given the substantial growth of the port. So that's just one example. The other one could be like Bubbling Springs Park, and something that's beneficial there as well. So I just think that if we limit it to the $2,500 to $10,000, it may not be substantial enough for consideration of larger projects. So that's one, and I think that maybe we need to leave that door open a little bit more. And then on the reporting requirements, if any, regarding the use and impact of the funds, I would like to see measurable results or something along those lines, because I think that's one of the things that we struggled with like the statue. How does that benefit our community? $120,000 was spent for a statue that wasn't very popular, and we don't want to go down that path again. So we want to be careful not to have projects that get funded that then we have to go back and say, well, we didn't kind of goofed up on that one. So just, how's it going to be measurable? What's the measurable results? And then, let's see, the last one. Oh, the possibility of matching funds from the organization. That's not mentioned in here. I think that if an organization comes to us and says, we want $10,000 and we're going to match it with $10,000, I think that would heighten my preference to an organization's being awarded the funds, because they're looking to do something substantial to support their cause, whatever that might be. So anyway, just those are the 3 bullets, if you will. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners? I just want to really thank the staff for this
Yes.
document, our deputy city manager. We've come a long way in recent years in how we utilize this process, and I appreciate that this is a process that is now in place, and we'll see how it performs in the next couple of years, and maybe a couple of years from now we take another look at it once the staff has seen the weight, how much weight is on them on it, and how effective it actually will be. But again, I thank staff for their contribution on that. With that, this item is a receive and file report. May I entertain a motion to receive and file it in a second?
I so move to receive and file.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
There, it has been seconded. City Clerk, may you please take could you take the roll, please? Or the vote, please. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Chair, before we move on to the next item, I'll just indicate I did receive one message that indicated, with the exception of your microphone, that others the voices were difficult to hear. So I would just ask everybody, and I'll ask IT to make sure that technologically we're functioning properly. But I would just ask everybody if you could make sure that you're speaking up and close to the microphone so the public who is observing this meeting can hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Deputy City Manager. We're now going to move to the item 4 under business items, and that is the 2024 Wainimi Beach Festival post-event survey, summary of the event. So will staff please present the report? Thank you.
Good afternoon once again, members of the public, staff, and commissioners. Item 4 is intended to provide a summary of this year's Wainimi Beach Festival, to seek feedback about the event, and request CAC's support for the recommended approach to next year's event. As you may recall, this year's festival was held on September 7th and 8th and included carnival, rides, vendors, music, food, and tons of fun. This year's event was coordinated by an internal staff committee with significant support from the Police Explorer program. Two members of our audience, Henry and Frank Montalongo, run the Port Hueneme Police Explorers and were heavily involved in the planning, coordination, execution of this year's event. So once we get through with the presentation, if there are questions, I will do my best to respond, and if I can't, these gentlemen will be able to help me out and fill in the gaps. By way of quick background, at its October 9th and November 13th meetings last year, this commission reviewed the 2023 event and considered recommendations for the 2024 event. The body's review included looking at event activities and objectives, as well as how the event was managed, its footprint, and its finances. Ultimately, the body made several recommendations which were approved by the City Council. The next two slides summarize those recommendations and how they were incorporated into the event. So I'll just briefly summarize what we see here on the screen. One of the objectives was to engage nonprofit groups and community groups. That was accomplished by lowering the fees that were charged for nonprofit vendors, doing additional outreach, and ensuring that community groups such as high school bands were included in the event. Another objective was to make the event financially self-sustaining. We'll get into finances in a moment, but as you'll see, we were able to accomplish a balanced budget for this year's event without charging for either admission or for parking. Another objective was increase the use of the beach. That was something that the commission talked about and the council fully supported. We were able to have a couple of activities on the beach, most notably the introduction of a youth beach wrestling event, and also focused on access to and from the beach and the festival. We talked about scheduling. One of the objectives was to ensure that we avoided conflicts with the Pride events, the VC Fair, and other various activities that were regional in nature. We did modify from the traditional timing of the last weekend in August to September 7th and 8th. That was a modification to ensure we didn't conflict with certain events that were happening that last weekend in August. And as you'll see as we go through the presentation, there is an additional modification proposed for the 2025 event. Another one was considering reducing the event from a 2-day to a 1-day event. Now, we didn't do that, but the reasons are, as we went through the process and assessed the logistics and the finances, we found that the decrease in revenue from sponsorships of having a 1-day event would have been much greater than any cost savings we would have gotten from reducing vendor costs, rental costs. Often the case would be that the vendor would drop the items off on a Friday and pick it up on a Monday. There's no difference in cost if we have a 1-day event if they're picking it up on business days. So we didn't see any financial benefit there and saw a lot of potential opportunities in holding a 2-day event. I mentioned before youth involvement, community focus. We had the youth wrestling tournament. We had the high school marching bands. The Police Explorers, not only ours, but other Police Explorer groups from across the county were involved. So we did have multiple opportunities for youth groups to be involved. One of the items was to see if we could incorporate the Navy and the Shumash in this event. We didn't accomplish that. The change of command was one of the complicating factors, but primarily the condensed schedule. As you'll recall, we talked about a couple of different ways that we could approach coordinating and planning this year's event. We went out to RFP. We considered hiring a private firm to do it. And all of these changes to the approach resulted in a condensed planning schedule, which didn't allow us to incorporate everything that we wanted to do. But it's definitely on our radar, and allowing us to start planning earlier for next year's event will allow us to ensure that those types of things are incorporated. We did mention the beach wrestling. One of the objectives was to incorporate sports activities. Basketball, surfing, volleyball were all ideas that were mentioned. The timing of September didn't really line up and allow for school groups that we had hoped to incorporate to participate at that time. Again, you'll hear in just a moment, but we're proposing a different time frame, and we're hopeful that other sports would be able to be incorporated next time. One of the other objectives was a regional draw to maximize attendance. Events were promoted in the VC Star, the VC Reporter. There were multiple spots on local radio stations. We did observe tour buses, so it appears as though we did both have primarily from the community, but also some draw from the greater region. And then there are 3 additional items on there, include resources serving the community, for example, Ventura County agencies. And again, this is one where we would like to do a better job next year. With additional planning, we'd like to get various agencies from the county and other nonprofit groups that provide services to our residents to participate in the event. Increased event sponsorships. That one was more of a maintain this year, and we found that there was a need to reestablish and improve existing relationships. So there was considerable work that these gentlemen put into improving, maintaining, and getting longer-term commitments with event sponsors. And then the event footprint, the layout. As you may recall, we modified the footprint. It was modified, it was smaller, so it would be less impactful. Most notably, there was no vehicular impact as we did not take away Surfside Drive as had been previously part of the event footprint. So there was less impact to traffic, to some of the adjacent neighbors. So that was another modification that occurred. Event finances. So this is very broad strokes. There is an attachment that provides a greater level of detail in the report. But from a very top level perspective, which is what we're asking you to focus on and make recommendations to the council, the objective was to see if we could balance the budget. Last year, in big picture, we had about a $71,000 deficit. This year, after we account for the donation that will be paid to the Explorers, which was previously agreed to by the council, we'll have about a break even. We'll have a few $1,000s in the black, a small surplus. This was primarily accomplished by significantly decreasing the expense side of the equation. There were many opportunities that Frank, Henry, and the committee found to decrease expenses. So that was a huge success from a financial management standpoint, and I want to give them a lot of credit. As I say, in the past, the $71,000 deficit was hard to swallow last year, and that was certainly an item that this body discussed, that the council was focused on, and we were able to accomplish that with a different structure and a different approach to the event. So once again, our goal is to get feedback from the CAC and or public about how the event went. We feel as though it was largely successful. Of course, the first time you do something different, there's always lessons to be learned. There's always things that we can improve. But the decrease, the focus on the youth, the focus on the use of the beach, the smaller footprint in size, we feel were wins. The financial position being significantly improved, another win. And we want to get some feedback, and then we're asking for the CAC's support in making a recommendation to council that staff have the authority to begin planning for next year's event. And as I mentioned a couple of times in the presentation, we're looking at July 12th and 13th as the dates. And yes, again, Frank has done advanced research, and it appears as though that would avoid conflicts with Ventura County events, the Pride events, other events, the large cornhole tournament that happens every year, the county fair. It would provide additional distance from the Port's Banana Festival. So there's a lot of reasons that went into that. And as I said before, it may allow for the participation of other groups that didn't line up real well with the September dates. So with that, I'll take a pause, receive any information, answer any questions. And as I say, if there are detailed questions, Frank and Henry are here and may be able to fill in any gaps that I'm unable to respond to.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy City Manager. Does the commission have questions for staff at this time? Only questions will be taken at this time. Comments and discussion will be heard later. Questions of staff about the report? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the only question I have is the topic is retain cannabis presence at the event, that section. And it says to ensure the presence remained and received positive feedback. I mean, what, they eliminated the Cannabis Cove thing, but what, I don't understand what this means now. It keeps the presence. What's the presence?
So when we discussed it as a commission, there was a thought that the Cannabis Cove wasn't part of the objective that we wanted. So as you pointed out, as noted in the report, that was removed. At the same time, discussion amongst the commission was that cannabis is an important business in our city, and the cannabis presence should be maintained. So how we accomplished that was there were cannabis vendors that had booths at the city. So their presence was retained in that they, Frank and Henry can help me out here, but I believe 2 or 3 vendors were present as businesses from the community that were present to talk about the services that they offer.
But there wasn't any public use.
No, and that, just to be clear, there has not been. In the past, the Cannabis Cove displayed products and allowed information for people to purchase off-site, but there was no consumption and no products use on site.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk, are there any public comments on this item?
No public comments.
Okay, commissioners, do we have any overall comments or discussion on this item? Go ahead. Yeah, kick us off.
So I just want to say thank you. Well done. I know you had a short window to pull this off this year, and that was tough. So thank you very much for the hard work that you did to accomplish a profitable event. And from everything I've heard, very positive comments about the event as well. So thank you. I like the idea of moving it up in the summer, and I guess I would question, is there even from the events and the sports that were recommended earlier by one of our commissioners here, of trying to engage some more sports like volleyball, beach volleyball, and what have you, is there an opportunity to come towards the spring or the very beginning of summer to kick off summer so that we can get some of the schools to participate in some of those sports that I think it was you that recommended those as well. But, you know, I don't know if that's a timing issue or what have you, but July is good, not at the 4th of July, obviously, but, you know, I think that moving it earlier is a great idea, and if July is the timing and that seems like the best time, then that's fine, but it's a wonderful way to kick off the summer if we can kick it off maybe even a little earlier to engage some of the sports activities. I don't know, just a thought, but thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner?
What was the process for the wrestling tournament, and how did that go over?
When you're asking about process as far as why we chose the wrestling, or just the sports?
Yeah, what the, you know,
So-
why would be, you know.
So when we initially started, the planning process, we targeted soccer, beach soccer, and volleyball. Once we started doing the research, one of the issues we found with it being in September is with soccer, all the competitive clubs start their season was that same weekend of the beach festival. So we had to pull the soccer off because none of the soccer clubs were going to be competing at the beach because they're doing their normal season. It's opening weekend. My kids play club soccer. It's the same thing. They were actually at their first games and weren't at the event for that. Then went to the beach volleyball. We had contacted a lot of our local high schools. At first, they were on board, so we were going to have Channel Islands, Wainimi High School, and I believe Oxnard High School were all going to participate, and we were going to have a beach volleyball tournament. But the schools backed out really close towards the festival because of their fall season. They have like a fall volleyball season as well, so coaches didn't want to risk injuries, and there was scheduling conflicts, so they pulled out of the event. So then we went with the wrestling, which a couple months prior or during the process, they had the beach wrestling had its first event here in Ventura County at the city of Oxnard, and it was very successful. So we figure we have our beach. It's a beautiful beach, and it's a new concept of beach wrestling. So we reached out to that nonprofit organization here in Oxnard, which is called Beach Streets LA. They operate out of Oxnard High School, and they offer free wrestling for any youth in the local area, free about 9 months out of the year. I was there recently. You have kids coming from Santa Clarita, Camarillo, the whole Oxnard, Wainimi area going there. So we thought that would be a good opportunity to bring some light to the sport of wrestling and incorporate it on the beach.
Would you consider doing that for tennis?
For tennis on the beach?
Or Well, would it be possible to use Miranda Park, in conjunction with the festival? I'm just thinking out loud, because I know, like, if you're saying that you had the other high schools, I know the other tennis coaches, in Ventura County they would jump at an opportunity like this.
Okay, like
To highlight the sport, and,
Yeah,
and be part of the festival.
that's something we could look at. So we could incorporate it as an off-site location and incorporate it
Well,
with the
yeah,
festival.
yeah,
And it's within walking distance of the beach, so
Right.
we could look into it
Yeah.
as well. So,
Well,
and one of the other challenges with the sport, the high school sports, is and talking to a lot of the coaches, they're like, hey, we're out of season prior, so getting those commitment levels was another obstacle that we were trying
well,
to.
that's what I'm saying, because we practice during the summer. and
Okay.
It would give the other high schools a place to come together and play some like matches and stuff like that, and to get ready for the season, which kind of starts like about 1 month after the festival. So it's a win-win for everybody. That's what I'm saying. But if
Yeah, no, we could definitely incorporate along this the tennis courts are not in rent and used by any other.
or we could use Miranda Park and Wainimi High School, and make it happen, for everybody. I mean, I just think it's a win-win if you're already doing wrestling, I mean, I don't see why not. And again, it's a great opportunity for the high schools to get ready for the season.
Okay. Yep, we'll consider that.
I think one of our objectives is to receive feedback about ways that it can improve and present a summary of those to the city council for ultimate direction. But I think incorporating a different activity like tennis is one that we can definitely bring forward.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
I'm all ears.
Any other commissioners on this item? Well, I want to thank you and appreciate both the explorers, the other officers, sworn and non-sworn, law enforcement that was involved in that event, and to city staff and to our volunteers. It's remarkable to take an event that pre-COVID wasn't always consistent, and then after COVID really wondered if it was something that was meant to be in our future, right, after last year, and is this something that's going to be viable? And this year was really a proof of concept that in fact it can be viable. There is a model that could work for us, and the answer was to be even more community driven than maybe we even had imagined a year ago or earlier, late last year. So I just want to appreciate you as well, and to everyone else that was involved in it, and to the city staff that was involved. So commissioners, do we have any additional feedback on the Wainimi Beach Festival?
I just want to add one more comment I just thought of. One of the things that I appreciate the city's staff, not only with the beach festival and doing such a great job, but also just some other things that have been going on this summer, like the kite day, and it was remarkable to see children who have never ever flown a kite that day, and it was so touching to see. They were hanging out with their buddies, and then one of the children said, "I've never done this before," and the buddy said, that's for kids, right? And so they took off, and this one child stayed behind, and he was just so enamored with the whole process of flying a kite. It was wonderful. The city gave away a bunch of kites, and it was touching. It was very nice to see that, because it was such a peaceful and calm and beautiful sight to see all those kites in the air. So those are the great things about our beach, that we can do things that just shows you that, there are other events and activities that could even go around through the Wainimi Beach Festival and have another kite contest, for example. Or you could have, I know there was a fun little marathon of some sort that was kind of a walk-around, where there was some activities that was kind of goofy, hula hoops and all that kind of thing there were. But it was fun, and I remember watching the activities, and people were laughing and having fun, and it was lovely to see us utilize our wonderful beach with activities, and incorporating some of those into the festival could be terrific too. So anyway, thank you, and thanks for doing a great job.
Thank you. Colleagues, any other feedbacks or thoughts about the Wainimi Beach Festival? If not, we are going to move to the recommendations. And thank you for your contributions. Thank you. The recommendation is let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The recommendation is to receive, is to receive this informational report regarding the 2024 Wainimi Beach Festival, and number two, recommend that the City Council authorize staff to begin planning the 2025 Wainimi Beach Festival with the same event layout and objectives, utilizing the event dates of July 12th and 13th, 2025. May I entertain a motion, colleagues, with those recommendations?
I so move.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay. Thank
Chair, before taking action, I just want to be clear. Does the motion include two concepts that I heard was that this body may recommend that the council consider incorporating tennis activity into the festival and also kite day or other activities that have been helped independent of the festival, incorporating those into it.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy City Manager. I think those reflect the thoughts of the commission. Commissioners, anything else?
I would not try to impose those suggestions. I would just, there are suggestions for you to consider, and that I think that you can think outside the box, and if they fit and it works into it, I think that our objective was to incorporate more beach activities, but the tennis would be lovely too, and I just think that we're just trying to encourage staff to think outside the box and to bring great activities that incorporate beach activities for our public, but not to be too specific.
Okay, so those are just some examples.
Yes.
Okay, is that clear to staff? And
Unless,
That's
do you
clear.
feel strongly about this?
Yeah, I agree, you know, and,
Okay.
And I apologize, because obviously you have great inroads for making that happen with the tennis, and if that's something that you can help organize and make happen, I respect that, and
Yeah,
would
we-
never
we,
say no, let's put it that way.
we run a free clinic for kids, and it would be, I mean, it just seems like a natural transition. You guys are running the festival, we work together, we get some kids out, and then I'm sure that those kids will end up, like a lot of my team plays down at Miranda Park anyway, so.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Commissioner.
Anyway.
So the motion has been clarified that it also includes some of the examples we provided with an overall concept. And so there was a motion and a second. If we'd like, we can go ahead and redo those to make it clear that now, since the motion's been clarified, is there a motion to actually a continuance of those same motions? Okay, then let's go. City Clerk, do you mind taking the vote on those motions? Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you, City Clerk, and thank you to the staff on that item. We're now going to move to the next item, which is staff comments. Does staff have any comments at this time?
No comments or updates at this time.
Thank you. Commissioners, now is the time if you would like to provide any comments or updates. Commissioners? Commissioners? Okay.
Just one thing, again, just thank you to the staff for all the work this past summer with all the activities and all the things that you do every day anyway, and just hats off to you for a successful round with this event and the Community Benefit Fund as well, so thank you for that.
Yes, thank you to the staff. This, the next time we meet, which we'll touch on in just a moment, will be after the holidays. So I just wish my colleagues here, the public and the staff, happy holidays and happy New Year as we roll into that time. It seems like it's too close to be saying that, but apparently not. So with that, we are going to move to adjourn. The next regular quarterly meeting of the Citizen Advisory Commission is scheduled for Monday, January 13th, 2025 at 4 p.m. The meeting is now adjourned at 4:40 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.